Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Piotr Kawa. In Bakatech, I'm product manager of AlienVault. Thank you for your time today. We would like to present to you AlienVault solution. AlienVault is unified security management platform. Is much more the SIEM. Our session will be divided into two parts. My part will be like a general overview about AlienVault. The second part, our technical director, Maciej Twardy, will introduce you basic information how you can configure your platform to avoid some kind of noise in your policies. First of all, security is hard and expensive, and each of our customer have such a problem. There is like plenty of different ransomware infections all over the world, and like each per day there is like more than 300,000 malicious programs. To be honest, threats involve every day, so all the time bad guys are getting smarter, and your infrastructure continues to change. There is like, you don't have probably like one router, one switch, and one server, but like on daily basis, you are adding to your infrastructure some virtual machines, some new users, and for sure, as a customer, you are lacking of tools, resources, and of course, time. In total, you need to find solution which help you to maintain your security. That's why people invented AlienVault. AlienVault right now is like more than 10 years on the market. Right now they've got like more than 8,000 commercial customers over the world. And more than 300 employees. In addition, AlienVault was just one company who be named like visionary in Gartner in 2013, 14, 15, and 16. Right now, AlienVault is a part of AT&T, a telecommunication company from US. AlienVault has like three main missions. First of all, simplify how organizations detect and mitigate threats. Second of all, AlienVault give you a tools and you can use threat intelligence platform and unified security functionalities, and I will describe it a little bit further. And of course, AlienVault is dedicated to each organization because they've got like very elastic licensing model, so you can implement AlienVault in like very small companies and like in big enterprises, as AlienVault is licensed by Asset. Asset is like unique IP address, and of course like EPS, event per second. Right now, AlienVault has like two main platforms, two main products. First of all, AlienVault USM Anywhere. It's solution SIEM from the cloud, so you can implement sensor in your cloud, like hybrid or private or public cloud, and even you can install sensor in your physical infrastructure. All the logs will go to the cloud. It's AWS cloud in Europe. The second product is USM Appliance, and today the session will introduce you an appliance solution, and you can implement it in a virtual or hardware model. We are talking with different customers in different countries, and all of them, they've got few problems with SIEM in general. First of all, pure correlation, easy of use, trending and analysis, and of course costs. Right now, SIEM market is like solutions are very expensive, and just like few companies, probably few telcos and few banks can afford it. And of course, a part of this initial cost, like software and hardware, people who maintain the SIEM solution are like should be very well paid and should be very well skilled. Alien Vault introduced to the market all-in-one approach to threat detection. On this blue field, you can find like 5 green fields. This is a solution which will be implemented in your infrastructure. It's USM Appliance. Above it, you can find AlienVault Labs Threat Intelligence. This is people from AlienVault who is helping you and sending to you information about malicious actors, tools, programs, and different methods. And above it, you've got Open Threat Exchange. Is like, I'm calling it like Facebook for security guys, but this platform is sending like more than 14 million IOCs per day to your appliance. So why Alien Vault is more than SIEM? Is security platform. First of all, because it contains 5 different security features. First of all, you can do some kind of asset discovery. So you can active and passive scan your network to search a specific asset to specific IPs. Of course, you can do some kind of basic inventory like asset inventory and software inventory. Later on, you've got vulnerability assessment. So Alien Vault gives you a vulnerability scanner combined and integrate that into solution. So first of all, you have to show to Alien Vault your key assets and then do some kind of annual scanning. The next feature, ideas, it's like network ideas, so we can gather the traffic directly from the network by span port or tab. Alien Vault provides you host ideas as well, so we can implement or install agent on specific endpoints. The next one, you've got behavior monitoring. So you can gather the net flow statistics from the network and analyze it. And the last feature is like SIEM. Then you can do some kind of log management, OTX threat data, some kind of incident response. As well, Alien Vault has implemented ticketing system inside, so we can open the security ticket there as well. I've mentioned about Alien Vault Labs Threat Intelligence, like second layer of security. Alien Vault guys do have some kind of few tasks. First of all, correlation. They are writing for you on your behalf correlation directives, network IDS signatures, asset discovery signatures, and they are writing for you plugins. Plugins is nothing else like a component which translating raw logs into logs which will be understandable by Alien Vault. OTX, as I mentioned before, more than 65,000 of participations in more than 140 countries all over the world, and they are sending to your appliance more than 40 million threats indicator per day. You got like few deployment options to fit your needs. First of all, as I mentioned, on-premise solution, you can implement it in VM solutions like VMware and Hyper-V, and of course as a hardware. The second option is all-in-one appliance. And the last thing, you can buy AlienVault like through security provider. Thank you for your attention, and I would like to invite you to second part of this presentation. It will be technical presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Maciej Twardy and I am technical director at Lotech. Just let me show my screen. Okay. In the April edition of our Tech Wednesday webinars, we described all the functionalities that we can find in the management console of the Alien Vault Unified Security Management Appliance platform. Today, in the practical part, I'd like to show you how easy it is to automatically increase the visibility of an important data in the process of analyzing security events. What is generally need for this? So I think in most modern SIEM systems, we encounter a serious problem with difficulties in identifying real threats. This is mainly the result of a huge amount of logs reaching the SIEM platform, measured in thousands events per second. It is difficult to find among such a vast collection of records those that confirm a real security breach of our IT infrastructure. So how to deal with this situation using Alien Vault USM platform? As you will see in a moment, in a very simple way, in a few basic steps, we will be able to automatically filter out all irrelevant information from our SIEM system. However, before we move to the demonstration, let me start with just a few theoretical slides that will allow us to learn about the concept of architecture of the USM platform, its main components, their functions, and last but not least, the types of the policies available in this solution. As Piotr mentioned already, there are always three main components of the Unified Security Management Platform, regardless of the form of the implementation. You can always find USM sensor, USM server, and finally USM logger. The sensor is primarily responsible for collecting events received mainly but not only by the syslog protocol, but also by many additional mechanisms, even plain text. The sensor also does the normalization of raw logs. In other words, regardless of their source form, it finally generates a structured and standardized stream of data forwarded later to the server. For the normalization process, it is necessary to use so-called plugins dedicated to various manufacturers and solutions. The sensor is also responsible for detecting assets, as Piotr mentioned, passively using the built-in network IDS module and also actively using other tools, for example, Nmap. The needs module in the sensor also generates statistics about network flows in the NetFlow format. So we don't need to have any additional devices supporting this functionality in our organization. It's enough to use what Alien Vault offers. The last important thing the sensor takes is vulnerability detection. And it takes place in two modes, unauthenticated and more accurate authenticated. So finally, always two streams of data are going out from the sensor, logs and NetFlow data. They reach the server. This is the second component of the USM platform. It is primarily responsible for automatic generation of alarms as a result of triggering correlation rules, but also for all aspects of the analysis of collected information and, of course, generating reports and statistics. As the first block of processing of incoming events, you can see a policy module. This is a deliberate procedure because the policies in Alien Vault allow you not only to generate appropriate action after detection some security breach, but also allows you to change the typical event processing flow. Thanks to this, you can, for example, in relation to some activity that reflects the normal state of your of operation of your infrastructure, for example, give up risk assessment, give up event storage in the SQL, and even long-term archiving in the logger. We can save hardware resources in that way, and of course, we can increase visibility, enabling faster analysis of events that in fact constitute a real threat. The next block of risk assessment enables you automatic calculation of the risk value for each event based on three parameters: the assets value, the event's priority, and the reliability of the event. Alien Vault, of course, gives some default values for these parameters, but of course, as administrator, we are able to adapt the configuration for our needs. For example, we can change default assets value for some critical elements in our organization. The correlation block provides automatic event analysis to detect attempts to compromise IT security of our infrastructure. Alien Vault uses two types of correlation. This is very important information: logical and cross correlation. The first one, logical correlation, is the analysis of number of appearance of a given type of event in some specific time horizon. Some simple example: the number of incorrect logins to Windows Server within 1 minute period. If there are few such cases, say 1 per minute, this doesn't necessarily mean a brute force attack, but the correlation rule continuously analyzes the situation. And if the number of incorrect logins rises above some defined threshold, an alarm, of course, is generated. Logical correlations allow you to multi-level event analysis, so you can detect some sophisticated type of breaches. Alien Vault, this is a very important thing, provides you more than 4,000 ready-to-use correlation directives just out of the box. Cross-correlation, in turn, is the analysis of network traffic performed by the NIDS network IDS module in the sensor. In order to detect the network traffic signatures indicating an attempt to use the vulnerabilities existing in our infrastructure, detected by Alien Vault vulnerability scanner in the sensor. Here we also have several thousands ready-to-use rules just out of the box. All normalized logs, alarms, vulnerabilities, and other important data are saved in the SQL database. This is MySQL database implemented in the server, and this database is dedicated to analytics and reporting purposes. The default time horizon for storing events in this database is 90 days. Of course, it is possible to change it. However, it is necessary to take into account the total number of events appearing in our infrastructure. Depending on defined policies, raw logs are saved in the long-term archive. The logger, this is the last of the components of the USM platform. In addition to archiving functions, the logger performs another extremely important role. It signs digitally all stored data, thanks to which they can constitute an evidence at the stage of a security breach investigation. As I've already mentioned, with any policy that we define in Alien Vault platform, an action can be associated. The action can be sending an email message, running the command, for example, Linux bash script running on the Alien Vault USM platform, or creating a ticket. But policies allows you to change the default event processing flow. We are able to selectively turn off individual event processing modules. We can, for example, exclude risk assessment. We can exclude correlation for some types of events, and for others, in turn, long-term archiving in the logger. This functionality we will use in a moment to filter the information noise in our SIEM platform. It's worth adding that Alien Vault distinguishes between two types of events. The first of them, primary events are simply all normalized logs reaching the USM server from monitored assets. In turn, correlation events arise as a result of triggering correlation rules in response to one or more primary events. Of course, the web management interface allows you to define policies that handle both types of events, but in the further part of presentation, we are just going to create policy only for primary events. So let's move now to the demo part. In the first step, we will try to identify unnecessary events that we do not want to process in our SIEM, our Alien Vault USM platform. And of course, for this purpose, we need, first of all, login into Alien Vault USM web console. And then we need to choose the Analysis Security Events section, just to find some unnecessary events to filtrate. In my case, this is a very simple scenario. I'm going to filter some of my firewall logs, for example, events like firewall deny, firewall allow. As you can see, we have these events in SIEM section. And we need to start looking at the details page of, let's say, firewall deny event. We need to remember the source of the log. This is data source name. In this case, this is WatchGuard. And event type ID, which is equal 1510. And now we are moving to the configuration threat intelligence section. We need to choose data source tab. And now we are going to create, let's say, some special container, some special group for events for filtration. To do this, we need to click data source group button. And we need to click, of course, add new group. This will be the container for our unnecessary, some irrelevant events for filtration. Of course, we need to give some name for our group, for example, noise. And in the next step, we need to add to this group event we choose earlier. We do this using add by data source option. In the search field, we need to type the name of the plugin. You can see we've got some search result here, and all I need to do is to click to appropriate row. Because we want to filter only selected events detected by the WatchGuard plugin, not all events, we now need to click on the pencil icon over here and enter in this search field the proper ID, 1510, as you remember. We can see exactly the same deny firewall event as in the SIEM section. So now we need to click plus icon and finally submit selection. For confirmation, we see that we've chosen only one event from the WatchGuard plugin. So now we need to click update button. And now to add more events to the filtering group, to the filtering container, there is a simple way. We need to go to the Analysis SIEM section once again and find a firewall allow event. This is the second type of event to filtrating. We click the details icon, and now, as you can see, we've got the same data source name, the same plugin name, WatchGuard, but we have different event type ID, 1509. So all we have to do is to click Actions and choose Insert into DS, Insert into Data Source Group. In this window, we need to go to find our group noise, and we need to click Add Event Types and close the window. Of course, to confirm that we have in our group all events, we can go to the Threat Intelligence sections 1 again. And then we choose the data source group, data source tab, sorry, data source and data source groups. And here we can check what events we have in this group. We've got 2 events. Let's check what type of events. 1509 firewall allow and 1510 firewall deny. So this is the events we need to filtrate. In the same way, of course, you can add another events to filtration also from other devices, not only from WatchGuard, but in one group you can have events for different plugins. So now we've selected all events already, but how to enable the automatic blocking by the SIEM system? For this purpose, we will use policies, specifically policies for primary events. It means all logs incoming to the USM platform from outside. Alien Vault, as you remember, allows you also to create policies for so-called in-server events, but we'll not deal with them today. So to create new policy, we go to the Configuration Threat Intelligence section. The default tab is Policy. The policy management section for primary events is described as the default group policy. So this is the section to define policies for primary events. On the bottom, you can find policies for events generated in server. This is the second type of the events. But we want to create now the new policy for the primary events. So we click on the new button. And of course, we need to give some name for our new policy. For example, is filtering. And as you can see, the definition of policy is divided into 2 sections, conditions and consequences. In the first of them, we define for which network parameters and types of events our policy will be active. In the second one, in turn, which actions are to be performed by Alien Vault USM platform. Because we want to filter a specific type of events regardless of the source and type of network communication, in the source and destination field, we need to use any alias. So we select, for example, a source field, and from the asset tree, we choose any alias. And the same for destination, also any alias. And the same any value should be set also for network ports. Here, Alien Vault has set up these values by default. So the last very important thing we have to do in the conditions section is to determine for what type of events our policy will be active. So we click on the event types column. We have 2 options, data source groups or taxonomies. This time we choose the first one, data source group, and below we can find our noise group. But first of all, we need to deselect any and choose our noise group. So now we have defined all conditions to trigger, to activate our policy. And now we are moving to the consequences. Since we are interested in completely filtering selected events so they do not appear in the SIEM system at all, we have to disable individual modules of the event processing workflow, but we leave the action sections unchanged and we move to the SIEM part. Here, we can turn off all server modules, all modules in the event processing flow. So we can turn off SQL storage, cross-correlation, logical correlation, risk assessment, and even we can turn off all SIEM section. Now we can move to the logger section. Here we can turn off long-term archiving or our unnecessary events. And we accept all changes by clicking the Update Policy button. So now we can see our policy in the default group list. All we have to do now is to reload policy, reload policies definition. And now, I hope, our policy will be active. Yes, it's marked by green, so it's active. To verify this, let's move to the Analysis Security tab once again. And in the Real-Time tab, we can verify that we can't see any events like a firewall deny, firewall allow reaching our Alien Vault USM platform. We have some different types of event from our WatchGuard firewall, but not this we choose to filtering. Of course, we can disable our policy at any time. Let's try this. Configuration Threat Intelligence. We select our noise filtering policy and click Enable Disable Policy. Now we need to reload policy 1 again. And if we check now the security events section real-time tab, we have our firewall allow and firewall deny events once again. So this is a very small example, of course, but in this way you can create any policy for filter any irrelevant information, any information noise in your infrastructure generating by monitored assets. So this is the end of our today's presentation. Of course, keep in mind that this is only one small example of using a powerful tool, which are the policies in the Alien Vault USM system. We can use the policies along with the actions to automate the processing of any events received by the USM platform. So we encourage you to test this very interesting solution. It's worth mentioning that there is a trial version available, which in a single virtual machine gives you all of the Alien Vault's USM platform functionalities, so you can test it by your own. And that's all what we've prepared for you today. So thank you very much once again for your attention. Thank you very much for staying with us today. Feel invited to our next Bacotech Tech Wednesday presentation, and I hope see you soon. Bye-bye.